Hi everyone, welcome back to a new episode of Little Shop of Nerds. I'm Julia,
Mike, what's up?
and this is actually going to be our Halloween video. I mean, it is going out after Halloween, but Halloween was just Thursday, and this will be going out after Thursday. So
So think of the Simpsons when they do their Halloween special after
yeah.
Halloween.
So happy Halloween. I hope you guys all had a fun Halloween. And now let's get ready for the holidays, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Mike doesn't like Christmas. Okay, so last week's hint was Wheelers.
Yes, today we're going to be talking about the childhood trauma from Disney. Na 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 na. Return to Oz.
Yes, this movie was complete nightmare fuel when I was a child. This movie actually, okay, so it came out in 1985. It is actually a year older than I am, and let me tell you, even as an adult, it still freaks me out sometimes.
I think I saw it when I was. Truth be told, I saw it in my 20s. So I didn't know about the movie until someone from college told me about it.
Wow.
Hey, I didn't.
Mike.
Hey, I didn't know until I watched it. I'm like, damn, this is nightmare fuel.
Yes, so this movie takes place 6 months after the original 1930 something Judy Garland movie, except for it doesn't feature Judy Garland. It features
That chick who
she ends up going to play Nancy in The Craft.
we need to do that next year.
Yeah, okay, maybe.
And she also played Vicky Valicourt on The Waterboy, an Adam Sandler movie.
She also did a cameo. There was a new Craft movie that came out called The Craft Legacy.
They made a second one.
Yeah, like just like last year or something like that. And she did a cameo in that one.
Oh, of course, why not?
So, anyway, so this takes place 6 months after the tornado that took Dorothy to Land of Oz. And this time she can't sleep. She's having trouble sleeping. She keeps talking about the Land of Oz, and it's really concerning her aunt and uncle.
Yeah, and and when you talk about crazy dreams and stuff, and especially this takes place what 1800s.
1899.
Yeah, during that time, if you said this shit, know what they send you? To a psychiatric ward.
Yeah, so what they did was they ended up taking her to a guy who uses electricity, basically electrotherapy,
Hey, hey,
to try to help her sleep.
wow. Just about talking about Oz, I'm wondering what happens if she wants to open a candy factory with Oompa Loompas. I bet you it'd be a lobotomy.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. So she, her aunt takes her.
And her uncle's like, she's a kid. Leave her alone.
Yeah, her uncle was against her going, but then he was like, "Well, that's an awful lot of money to be spending on this." And her aunt's like, you know, we just, somebody said that they would lend me the money for it, and he goes, but that's charity, and we don't accept charity." And anyways, she ends up taking her, like, I think the next day.
Yeah, well,
Toto has to stay behind. Poor Toto.
yeah, and before that, she did find an key to Oz.
Oh yeah, she tried to show her aunt, and her aunt was just like, "Oh, this is just a key to the old house."
Yeah, and
Because they're in the process of rebuilding a new house because their old one
Yes.
was destroyed.
And when she gets to the psychiatric ward, pretty much it does in the first film. Every person in the psych ward pretty much are the same people who are in Oz. Or are the actors, but in a different way. It's kind of like
how the Tin Man was somebody that worked on her uncle's farm, or the Wicked Witch of the West, I think, was that woman who
Miss
was
Gulch.
who tried to take Toto away.
And what was it? The wizard. Oh, the wizard was based on Dr. Mark, the fake psychic who, no,
The magician dude.
the fortune teller to
Yeah.
make Dorothy go back home. But besides that, well, you also, if you notice, if you watch that movie, the guy who played the Wizard of Oz, he was also the gatekeeper who said, "Who rang that bell?"
Yeah, I noticed that. We should probably do the Wizard of Oz today.
Oh yeah. We gotta do that.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, so she's left at this clinic, and they come to get her, and they take her to the room where they were going to do the therapy, and lightning struck the clinic, and the electric went out, because in 1899, like, electric was basically still a new thing. Like, it's not as widespread as it is now.
Well, but then again, back then we didn't have the idea to put those electric rods that help or something, whatever it's called. Fuck it, I forget.
Yeah. Anyway, so so the electric goes out. They go to try to see if they can't figure out what's wrong, and then this little girl that Dorothy had met comes to save her.
Gives her a pumpkin before
before they take her to the room.
But you know what's funny? That lady who came to get Dorothy, they put her on the little gurney, and she's like, "Why are you strapping me down so you don't fall off?" I'm like, this lady checks off the warning signs.
Yeah, so she hears screaming, and the girl that saves her says that those are the people who have been damaged.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah.
They're being locked in the cellar.
I'm like, yeah, damage. What else are you going to keep the people you bottomize and also shock to make them seem normal?
Yeah, so they run off into the rain because it's raining and thunder and thunderstorm. They run off, and if you guys hear that, that's my cats. They decide that now they're gonna have the zoomies.
Yeah, right. It's like, here comes Tushy down the lane, and then here comes down the snuck and neck. All right.
Yeah, we'll show you guys Noel later, but so they run off into the rain, the thunderstorm, and they go into a river.
Yes.
And the river is so fast-paced that they end up getting pulled down river.
And
the nurse, the lady nurse at the clinic, she does jump in and try to save them, but she's unable to because the river is too fast moving.
Yeah, and she failed. The little girl that Dorothy was there, I think she drowned, or she couldn't find her. And Dorothy gets into this like crate, and I'm surprised it's floating while she's in there, because of her weight. Well, they would drag it, but I guess not. And after the storm, she's in like a little ocean, and she sees her hen,
Bellina.
And I tell you, she's more of a downer than I am. And I'm like, please kill this chicken.
Yeah, we don't know where the chicken came from. It's just, she just randomly showed up. And she's like, how long are we going to float in this pond? And Dorothy's like, we're not in a pond. And then she sits up and she's like, oh, I guess we are in a pond. And they're in a desert. And come to find out, it's what's called the Deadly Desert in the Land of Oz. Now, apparently in the books, this desert separates Oz from another country called Ev, or something like that, Evie, which we're going to be talking about some characters, and that's going to be the country that those characters are from when we get to that part.
Yep.
So they, Dorothy immediately realized that she was in Oz. And how, I don't know, but she did. And she's like, well, this is the Deadly Desert. We can't touch anything. Now, how she knows that, I don't know. But from what I have gathered is that Return to Oz is based off of the third book in the series. The Wizard of Oz was supposed to be based off the first book, The Wizard of Oz, but I have read the book, and the book is completely different from the movie.
Yeah. Well, at least with the Return of Oz, they actually got an actual kid to play Dorothy Gale.
That is true, because Judy Garland was not a child
She was like
when she played Dorothy.
she was like in her late teens, and they were going to get what's it called? Her name Shirley Temple to do it, but Fox something with to do with a contract or something, and
I mean, I probably would have liked to have seen Shirley Temple as Dorothy.
well, it doesn't matter. The original Wizard of Oz movie was a fucking hazard.
Yeah, because they did paint the guy that played the Tin Man. They used lead paint to paint his body to look like a Tin Man.
That and the original Tin Man who was going to play him couldn't do it because he was allergic to it. But the original actor who to play him, you might know him. He played Jed Clampett in the Beverly Hillbillies TV show. To all those old people out there, and I do know there was what some say one of the Munchkins hanged themselves.
That actually turned out to be a myth.
And the snow was asbestos.
Yeah.
The actress who played Wicked Witch of the West got third-degree burns, and the studio wanted her there. And I think one of the studio doctors actually said, "Hell no, she's staying here. Go fuck yourself."
Yeah. So anyway, so they she's in the deadly desert. She's like, don't touch the sand, because if we touch the sand, we turn into sand. Mm-hmm. So she uses these rocks, and then you see these faces appear on the rocks. And then we find out that they belong, or it's not the Gnome King, but they're like minions of the Gnome King.
Doesn't look like a gnome. He doesn't even look like a gnome.
Well, it's spelled Nome, not Gnome.
Oh my god, there's a difference?
So, there is a difference, yes. So, anyways, Mike is thinking of the garden gnomes with the little pointy hats that look like dwarfs.
Well, can you blame me?
Looks like, the dwarfs from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, but...
Yeah, I think and Peter Dinklage doesn't want that. Okay,
we're gonna save that for another time, Mike.
Let's get off. We're getting off.
So she uses the rocks to get over to the grass, and then she's like, "Well, let's get to the land of Oz." She's like, the Emerald City. She's like, "My friend the Scarecrow will help us," and she's like, "Well, first they had to find something to eat," which I really wish this fucking tree existed. It is a tree that had lunch pails on them, like growing like fucking apples. You just grab one, a ripe one, and you open it, and there's like a sandwich or something inside of it. And I really wish this were true, because I would be selling those for $5 a pop. I would become rich.
Alrighty.
So she eats one, and then she takes one with her, and then they go off to find Land of Oz. Or, well, the Emerald City, I should say. They find her old house, and she's like, "Oh, there's the old house." And she's looking around, and she's like, "Oh, there's the kitchen over there, and over here's my room. That's where I killed the Wicked Witch of the East."
And I'm like, wow, if you're going to try to kill someone, you're really bad at having an alibi.
So then she was like, "Well, where are all the Munchkins?" And it's just like a forest at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And then she finds the yellow brick road, and
it's pretty much in shambles.
The way that she says, "Oh no," kind of reminds me of the way that Ralphie says "oh no" in A Christmas Story. And the way that I say "oh no."
Oh, when he broke his glasses?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh no. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. And that pretty much something's wrong, because the Yellow Brick Road is pretty much gone. They finally get to the Animal City. Doesn't take long.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the minions told him, "Hey, Dorothy's here. Dorothy's here. they have a chicken, and that gets up to a little later. They don't like chickens.
Yeah, we'll tell you why later. So they get to the Emerald City, and everybody is stone.
Pretty much they were turned into stone.
Yes.
Now, if it was Snoop Dogg's kingdom, yeah, they would be stone.
Yeah. But there were actually some women that were missing their heads, which we will get to that in just a moment.
Yeah, and there was we do find that the Tin Man was turned into stone, which is kind of weird because he is literally
how he's able to turn into stone.
Really an object, and
yeah, because if you guys don't know the original, which Dorothy talks about this at the beginning of the movie, but the Tin Man was originally human, and he ended up cutting off all of his body parts,
and
including his head.
Yeah, and and pretty much he meets the Wheelers.
They are complete nightmare fuel. Those are the ones that scared me the most.
They look like a human with wheels on their feet and hands.
Let me. So hopefully I can get this to where you guys can see it. Okay, so this is what the Wheeler looks like before he takes off his mask.
Let me see. Huh? It looks like someone after a night of bendering
and this is, hopefully you guys can see this, but this is what they look like. I mean, I know this isn't the ideal way to show you guys what the Wheelers look like, but you guys can always look it up.
And you can tell it's from they look like they're going to an 80s concert.
Yeah. I mean, I may just end
80s,
up... I may just go ahead and upload pictures during this video of the Wheelers. I can always do that. So then they also, that key that she found. Okay, so they're chasing her because they're trying to catch her. Because they're supposed to bring the chicken back alive, I think it was. Or I know Dorothy had to come back alive, I do believe.
And they want to kill the chicken, and
yeah,
she goes into this like little corner hall. She's trapped, then she finds a little keyhole. She uses the key. Goes into the secret door. The Wheelers can't get through, but she said, "You're going to have to come out sooner or later." Then she sees this cop. I don't want to say tin. He's more copper because how he looks.
When they buff him, he doesn't look copper.
I know, but he
looks like a pressure cooker.
Well, either way, his name is Clocksworth, but his nickname is TikTok. And
he was the original TikTok.
Yeah, because it's spelled the same as the app. Mm-hmm. Go figure. Anyways, and pretty much what he is, he's pretty much like a wind-up toy. There are 3 keys. Wind up his thinking, wind up the talking, wind up the action. And his helmet kind of reminds me of an old World War I Army helmet. Mm-hmm. And they ask why. Turns out he was part of the army and the Emerald City's army, whatever it was, and the Scarecrow told him to wait till you came. He pretty much waited until his ticking ran down, and she asks like, why didn't you turn to stone? And he says, "I'm lifeless, so you can't turn anything that's lifeless." I'm like,
I wonder if maybe the reason why the Tin Man was able to turn into stone was because he does have a heart.
I don't know.
I don't know how that works, but
who knows?
Maybe because he was human at one point.
Maybe. Right now it's too much to go down the rabbit hole, and Chewie just give us a little woof.
Yeah.
And besides that, they go, TikTok goes, fights the Wheelers, grabs one of them, and asks who's in charge, and it was Princess Mombi. And they go and you see this like woman who's pretty much playing the lewd.
The lewd?
Lube.
You mean the lute?
Lute. Whatever.
You called it lube, which that's definitely not what it's called. That's lube is something completely else, and then lewd is something else too.
Hey, at least you know you can have some fun with lube.
You can have some fun with lewds too.
All right. Either way, she says she'll be back, and turns out, Mombi can change her head.
Yeah, so the women that were dancing, or you'll see them. They are a group of women who have no heads, and those are those girls' heads. So she wants Dorothy's head. She's like, "Oh, after a few years, your head will be lovely." And she locks Dorothy up in the tower, in a room, to have her age, so she can, take Dorothy's head when she gets older. Anyway, so...
Okay. Hold up. Okay, you better not... He's like, Chewie's like, should I squeak?
Yeah, I hope Chewie doesn't decide that he's going to squeak his toy.
He's
Don't look at me like that. He's
like giving the looks like, who, me?
Yeah. So, anyway, she meets Jack Pumpkinhead.
And he kind of is like a scarecrow, but with a pumpkin head and made out of branches.
So, he kind of terrifies me a little bit, too. Because if you guys don't know, there is a horror series called Pumpkinhead. And the antagonist in the movie has a pumpkin head.
Yeah, but here's
and that scares me.
Yeah, but in the movie Pumpkinhead, his head wasn't really a pumpkin. It just looked like a walking tree.
Yeah, but still, it's terrifying. And Chewie, you better stop squeaking your toy.
It's like it's not the pig this time. It's his pizza.
I know. He's also Chewie. Stop.
He's like, oh, come on.
So
he like I said,
she has to put him together because one of his arms fell off and one of his feet fell off, or one of his legs fell off. And then he keeps calling her mom. And she's like, I'm not your mom, I'm Dorothy. Well, he tells her about this powder of life that she has.
And
that Princess Mombi has.
Yeah, and why he was created is because his mother wanted to help scare Mommy and the others, but it didn't work.
Well, you'll find out who his mom is later.
And it's a little questionable though too. Anyways, they go get. She went go round.
She made a plan, and then they went down to get TikTok, and then she sent Pumpkinhead and TikTok back up to the room to start on their plan, and then she went to go steal the powder of life from Mombi.
And she had to get this little ruby key, and she finds the powder, but she has to go down this hallway with all the heads.
Yeah, so she has to be very careful not to wake any of them.
And she opens it up, and Mommy's real head is in there. She gets it, and it wakes up, and she's like...
Yeah, she knocked over a little jar, and that woke up Mombi's head.
And she's like, Dorothy! And all the heads are going, Dorothy! I'm like, well, if there's any 80s kids right here, I bet you they're shitting their pants right now.
Yeah, so, what ended up, the plan that Dorothy had come up with was there was a moose, I think some sort of moose head.
A gump.
Yeah, and so they pushed two chairs together, sofas together, 2 fern leaves, or not 2 fern leaves, it was like 6 fern leaves or 4 fern leaves or something
Whatever.
like that. And then the head, and then she sprinkled it all over when she got back up. But TikTok's thinking ran out, so he was causing more havoc than good. But they ended up getting out. Mombi sent the Wheelers after them. They followed her all the way to the desert. Several of them fell into the desert. Oh, so before we go any further, you remember when I was talking about the characters that came from Ever whatever, which
Right.
is, across from the desert. So the Wheelers actually came from them. Came from that country. And they're actually not as hostile as they were in the movie. They were kind of harmless, a little mischievous, but they were definitely played up as antagonists in the movie. But in the book, they really aren't that bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they go to the Gnome King's mountain.
And, they almost they made it, but here's the thing. There was a snag. What was it? Jack's head fall off, and they got it before it smashed, and then their body was starting to fall apart. Then they fall, and they land perfectly. Dorothy landed perfectly on the couch, and other stuff happened, and they all land perfectly. No one got hurt. But every time TikTok falls over, it's like, get me up, get me up. I'm like, okay, calm down. It ain't that bad, bro.
Yeah, so they meet the Gnome King, and the Gnome King pulls them into his castle, I guess. And
the reason why he did what he did was because the Scarecrow, who became the king of the Emerald City, took all the emeralds. But here's the thing: once Dorothy goes into this like tunnel or something that the Gnome King brings her through, and it's like it was ours in the first place and whatever. And he's like, she says, "Well, you have so many." He's like, "That's beside the point." I'm like, well, bro, if you got so many, you can spare.
What she did was she told them, hey, you should return what you stole back to the rightful owner. And he was like, well, the emeralds belong to me in the first place. So I'm just taking back what belongs to me.
Yeah.
And so then they pull her in. She runs into the Scarecrow, but then the Scarecrow disappears. Yeah. So the Scarecrow was kidnapped by the Gnome King. And the Gnome King is like this big, giant, like rock-looking thing. And over time, his appearance does start to change.
Yeah, and what he does is he pretty much turned the Scarecrow into an ornament.
Yeah.
And here's the thing that the Gnome King is like, I didn't feel like it rushed it, but it felt like he kind of, like he sees she was crying, felt bad for her, but he's like, let's make a deal. If you can find what you're looking for, say Oz, and they go back to normal, and you can go.
Yeah, what she had to do was she had to go in and she had to find the Scarecrow and say Oz while touching him. But the thing is, you don't know which ornament it is. Yes. Because there are hundreds of different ornaments, vases, that type of thing in this room. And so he's like, here, I'll even, bring your friends in and have them choose too. So you guys have more chances. Well, what he didn't, so he sent Gump in first.
And he got 3 tries.
Yeah, they got 3 tries. And what the Gnome King didn't tell Dorothy was that if they lose, or if they use up all 3 choices and don't find him, then they turn into ornaments as well.
And they did, and most of them did.
Yeah, so Gump turned into an ornament, Pumpkinhead or Jack turned into one, and then TikTok went in. Well, TikTok pretended that his action ran down because they sent Dorothy in, and he's like, "Hey, I only got one choice left, and I want you to see if you can figure out what,
Yep.
what I turn into. You can see what I turn into, and then you can make it make it easier. And she's like, okay, well, that sounds like a good plan. Well, unfortunately, it didn't work.
No. And they do. She tried 2 times until she closes her eyes. But before that, the Gnome King's drinking whatever, and Mobby comes in with her wheelers. And here's the thing: she comes in like in a chariot, and the wheelers are pulling in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I know a couple of people who would love to do that with someone.
Yeah, so, anyways, she shows up, and he's like, Mombi shows up, and he's like, oh, no, she's already here, and we're already, pretty soon she's going to turn into an ornament, and then I'll be fully human. Because at this point, that's when you start to notice that he's changing.
Yes, and there you can tell the puppet work, claymation, the puppet, it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And he's like, what happens if she guesses right? He's like, it won't happen. Then Dorothy closes her eyes. She thinks she has the right one, but she opens and looks at this emerald jewel. She said Oz, and the Scarecrow became normal.
And then that's when she realized that people from Oz were green ornaments. And she told him, she told Scarecrow, look for ornaments that are green.
And one looked like a J statue was the Gump. And the Gnome King doesn't like it. He's trying to destroy everything. Cheater, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, no, I get it. And they find a vase. It was Jack Pumpkinhead. But here it was also funny. Billina, the hen, was hiding in his head.
She's been hiding in Jack's head this whole entire time.
And pretty much the Gnome King turned giant, grabbed Pumpkinhead, ready to eat him. Then Billina finally lays a egg.
Yeah, because she couldn't lay an egg for some reason at the beginning of the movie. And Dorothy had said something to her, Billina, if you don't lay an egg, Aunt Em is going to turn you into a stew or something like that.
To me, if the hen's not going to lay an egg, that's going to be my fried chicken dinner.
Yeah, yeah. So, anyways, she lays an egg, and eggs are poisonous to gnomes. And he swallows the egg, and they all die, basically.
Died. The emeralds are turned back to Emerald City. Everyone lives. Dorothy, they think TikTok's gone forever, but they find a little badge that was on the Gump's antler, and she said Oz. The TikTok became the normal. They go back, have a little ceremony. Oh, before we forget that, they asked her about the ruby slippers, and she said she lost them. Turns out the Gnome King...
Gnome King had them.
Then she got him back.
That's how he was able to take over the Emerald City, was because of the power of the ruby slippers.
Yeah, and she got back saying, I wish everything go back to... And clicked her heels, everything went back to normal.
Well, because before that, they met up Ozma.
Yep.
They met Ozma, which is the actual heir to Oz.
It's Ozma.
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 Whatever. Anyways, Ozma was actually the little girl that had tried to save her in her actual world.
Yes, and...
She was the one that she was actually the mother of Jack. And she's the one that sent Dorothy back to Kansas.
Yeah, that's kind of messed up how you say it.
Yeah. So she wakes up back in Kansas, and she's laying like beside the creek. Toto finds her, then her uncle finds her. They take her home. She finds out what happened, which was the clinic caught on fire. Everyone was saved except for the doctor. He ran in to try to save his machines, but he ended up dying. And then you saw the nurse woman in the back of a police carriage being, I guess, taken to jail because a lot of people, I guess, were damaged by this.
Yes, and they're back on the farm. and
Belina stayed behind in Oz.
yes, and because she wanted to live there.
And then Ozma was like, I will check in on you from time to time, and if you want to come back, just say the word and we'll bring you back.
Yeah, and everything went well, happily ever after. The end. All right. The movie, I give it.
I definitely give it a 9 out of 10.
I give it a 9 out of 10. But I do have to say, on the budget they had, I can see why some of the stuff looked a little bland. But I give props with the mirrors inside the palace. At least that make it look like an actual palace. But I do give creativity to the costumes and everything and the whole storyline. So
it is on Disney Plus if you guys have never seen it, or if you guys want to revisit it or whatever. It is on Disney Plus and you can watch it there. This movie, for the time that it was created, is actually really good.
Yep. Yeah, and I also give props.
Nightmare fuel.
And I can give props who designed the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lion in the movie. At least they actually make it look like they were from actually the storybook.
Yeah, I will actually post pictures. You probably have already seen them, but there will be pictures posted, and you've already seen them.
Mm-hmm.
I will show a picture of the scare. Well, actually, no, I'll just put it here. Here at the end, you'll see the pictures of the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, TikTok, and Pumpkinhead, Jack, and the Gump.
Yep.
And the Wheelers. Don't want to forget about the Wheelers. So that'll be here. You probably see them popping up on your screen right now. So.
Yeah. And what's next week's hint, Jules?
So next week's hint is Suck Zone.
Alrighty. Subscribe, give us a comment in the comments what you want us to review, and hopefully we'll get to it. And like I said, we are at 47. We want to get up to 50 to do our special project. So, go.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.